Good afternoon. How y'all doing?
Good.
I know there's been some discussion about a particular player. I'm going to defer all those questions to Coach and Brett Veach, because right now our focus as a team, we'll focus on the Buffalo Bills. We got to get this chip off our shoulder and make sure we go out and play up to expectations. So with that said, I'm all ears.
Let's start with Matt McMullen. Go ahead, Matt.
Hey, Coach, so you mentioned that chip on your shoulder. Tough loss last week, but now you have an opportunity here to go out there and get back on track. How much do you guys relish that opportunity to get back on track against a good football team here in the Bills, particularly under the lights in front of the country?
You always relish that opportunity. Anytime you come off a tough loss, the first thing that you want to do, you want the opportunity to go back the next day. You wish that you can just line up on a Tuesday and just go out there and play after watching all the mistakes that we made and the things that we didn't do. So when it's all said and done with, the good thing is that we have time in between to clean up the mistakes, making sure as a coaching staff that we're addressing the things that need to be addressed and that we're doing our part as well and making sure that our guys can go out and play up to the level that we expect them to play at.
Let's go next to Pete Sweeney. Go ahead, Pete.
Good afternoon, Coach. Just a general question about running backs. You've been doing this a long time as both a player and a coach. What have you made of how it's evolved from what used to be a bell cow guy to a lot of teams you're seeing nowadays are doing this 1, 2, even sometimes 3 type of punch style?
Well, I know when I played, you can never have enough good players. So you want to make sure that you have great depth at every particular position, because you never know when the next man is going to be called upon to play that role. So whether it's 2 playing at throughout the course of the game, sometimes it's 3 with a third down back included. The thing that you want to do is make sure that you have the right amount of ammo to go out there and help you to be as prolific as you can be. So don't matter. Talent is talent. You want to make sure that regardless of position, that you're ready to go.
Let's go next to Adam Teicher. Go ahead, Adam.
Hey, Eric, a couple things. First of all, the player you don't want to talk about, what does his addition mean for Clyde? And specifically, is this any kind of reflection on Clyde and how he's doing and what you're seeing from him? And Brad, I'll have a quick follow-up.
Well, I'll answer this like this. First of all, we drafted Clyde for a reason. Okay. Clyde is doing a heck of a job. The rest of that, Adam, I'm going to allow Coach to address that, because he's the head coach for a reason, and Brett Veach is the general manager for a reason. Then after they address all that, I'll make sure that I jump in, okay? But Clyde is doing a heck of a job. We have been very proud of what our guys have put on tape.
Fair enough. And also, I wanted to ask you about Sammy Watkins. As you know, a lot of the numbers show you guys are way more productive when he's on the field and in the game than when he's hurt and out of the lineup. Are there some things he does that maybe don't show up on the stat sheet that make you guys a more productive offense?
Well, you just got to understand this. Just kind of piggybacks on the question with what was asked earlier about the running backs. So when you have all the talented players out on one field at one particular time, those defenses got to pick and choose what they want to defend. And so when we're at our full strength, we're tough to stop. All right. And a lot of times, sometimes we become our own worst enemy. But when he's not in, it's time for the next man to step up. And we have some capable guys that have played exceptional, here, in D-Rob and in Pringle. I mean, we've had a lot of guys step to the plate. So we're counting on those guys to step up. Coach Greg Lewis has done a great job of raising those guys. Those guys will be ready.
Let's go next to Aaron Ladd. Go ahead, Aaron.
EB, it seems like every morning I wake up, there's a new positive test around the league. And I'm just curious, how different is your preparation, whether that be virtual meetings, behind the scenes, with the thinking that we could lose a day inside the facility at any moment in time?
Well, there's always a contingency plan. And right now we're always available to utilize those plans. The best thing that happened is that Zoom took over, or webinar and WebEx. So we've also become very efficient with that. So if something was to happen, we'll still have the ability to function. We'll still have the availability to make sure that we can teach and coach and make sure that our players are very aware of what we want to do. But right now, we just got to make sure that we're taking all the safety precautions to make sure that it doesn't infect or come into the building. And our organization have done a heck of a job of doing it the right way. So we just want to make sure that we're staying the course, everybody making the right decisions outside of the building and being accountable, because at the end of the day, okay, indirectly, we all have a great impact on one another. So accountability goes further than any other time or any other moment in the history of that I've been associated with this league.
Go next to Sam Mellinger. Go ahead, Sam.
Hey, Eric. Your guys on both sides of the ball, but you guys on offense too, kind of have a track record by now of rising to the moment and responding when you get knocked a little bit. I'm just curious from your point of view, from a coach's perspective, like what does a group have to, have that characteristic? And when did you first start to notice that?
You know what? It's our team has a great resolve, and they have a grit about them. And sometimes when you've been knocked down, you find a way to pick up the pieces and just rally. Since we've been here, we've had some tough losses. We've had to deal with some tough times at times. And I know that if you look at our record, we've had a great deal of success, quote unquote, but we've had some tough losses. And so through that, you learn. And I think more than anything that our guys have learned, and the reason why they're resilient, is that they understand the big picture. I think sometimes that the big picture could get lost in the shuffle, and the human element allows, and the human element is allowed to impact and come in the building, which becomes a distraction. And so one thing we want to make sure of is that all of our guys are eliminating the distractions, eliminate the outside crowd noise, all these people telling you what they think you should be doing, or being the outside coach. So one thing that we've done a great job is making sure that our guys stay true to who they are, but also eliminating the outside noise and focusing on the task. All right. And that's just being assignment sound, making sure also that we're being accountable to one another, and also understanding this isn't about me. Okay. It's about the greater good of the organization and the greater good of our team. Because if we do it together, there's a lot of things that we can achieve together.
Go next to Nate Taylor. Go ahead, Nate.
Hey, Eric, I know you mentioned earlier about not wanting to address exactly the new player that you guys added on, but you did mention the ability to add new talent to an already, talented group. Can you share what the reaction has been in the locker room of guys knowing that not only are you trying to win this week, but your organization from Brett Veach and his staff have made a point to add as much talent around to the group? Can you just explain what the dynamic has been in the locker room?
You know what, Nate, and I don't want this to come off a bad way. I haven't even had a chance to even sit down and have that discussion with anyone, because you may not notice, but our day is around the clock. So each and every moment I'm focusing on what do we need to do in order to make sure that we're ready for Sunday. So there's some game planning that's involved. On top of that, there's some little things that we need to make sure that we're ironing out as a coaching staff, and making sure we're knocking out all the details to make sure that we're ready and primed for practice, our walkthrough, and then post-practice, and then tonight's prep. So, unfortunately, I haven't had that chance to talk to anyone, but whenever Coach and Veach do what they do, we'll address that issue. But my focus right now is making sure that we can get back on track.
Got time for a couple more guys. We're going to go Sam and then Darren. Go ahead, Sam.
Hey, that was actually my question, Brad, so I'm good.
Great. We'll shift to Sarin.
Good seeing you, Sam.
Sarin, go ahead.
Just real quick housekeeping first, Coach. I know you said you don't want to talk about Le'Veon and everything. Does that, just to confirm, does that mean he won't be part of anything? There's not enough time to get him ready to go this week?
You know what? With all the protocols that's taking place, I have no idea.
Okay.
We're living in the COVID age.
Sure.
So whatever's going to take place, I'm going to allow those guys to take care of that.
Okay.
And like I said, I don't want to come off standoffish, but I just want everybody to understand the only thing that we're worried about is making sure that we can function today.
I understand. I just didn't know if there was an official, designation or anything that and how it would work. All right. So then I know Adam talked about Sammy being out and how much more productive you've been with Sammy. And we talked to McCole, and McCole, talked about how, well, I'm not as big as Sammy. I probably not as good a blocker. Coach called Sammy like a low post, center with the kind of the things he can do being a big physical wide receiver. What are the things that McCole can do maybe that Sammy can't? Like what, and how do you try to accentuate? I know you're always trying to get the strengths of every player out there. So what are the things that he can do that maybe Sammy can't do?
You know what, and just what you said, I think all of them bring a little bit of something special to the table. McCole has some explosive speed. He does some things that everyone can't do. So one thing that we love with McCole, when that ball is in his hands, I mean, he finds a way to make things happen. The thing that we always want to do is find ways to get him in space, and find ways, creative ways of getting the ball in his hands. But one thing I will say, he has done a heck of a job of being a good blocker. So I don't know why he's taking that away from himself, because he does have that attitude and that determined mindset. The thing I'm looking forward to is watching him handle, the play-to-play situation, because now he's being thrusted into that role. Now he has to be productive for a high percentage of time throughout the duration of the course of the game. So we're counting on him to do some things, and we're counting on some other guys to step up, all right, to contribute as well.
Let's go last to Darren. Go ahead, Darren. Oh, Darren, we can't hear you.
Darren, where you at, man?
All right, Darren.
Is this any better? Can you hear me now?
We got you.
Sorry about that, Coach. First of all, good afternoon to you. Couple quick questions that basically dealing with the running back situation. What are you expecting from Clyde this Sunday? Look, we know about the big signing that was announced a couple of days ago, but if you're Clyde, what are you looking to do this Sunday, knowing that you may have a new teammate coming in, and also in that running back room itself? Darwin Thompson had a big fumble a few weeks ago against Baltimore. Hasn't seen the field since, it looks like. And then, of course, now you bring in somebody else in who, not asking you to address on that, but what's the psyche of those running backs, knowing that you got somebody else and it's going to push you further down on the depth chart that may not allow you to see the field?
Oh, one thing to address Clyde real quick. I had a talk with Clyde earlier today. And one thing I talked to Clyde about is just focusing on improving at something, improving on 3 things per day. What are those 3 little things that you need to focus on that's going to help you to become the most productive player as possible? And those 3 things may repeat itself throughout the course of the season. But I just want him to focus on the little things, because he's a talented kid. He plays hard. He does a great job of reading the runs out. He's done a heck of a job of understanding what we're doing in blitz protection and doing a good job of picking those up. And he's done a heck of a job as a receiver out of the backfield. So we just want to continue with his growth process. You got to understand, this is a rookie, and he just completed week 5. So he's doing a heck of a job. Now, in this profession, okay, one thing I always tell guys, don't ever worry about the things that you can control. Worry about the things that you can control. Let's make sure that we're making the very most of the opportunity that is being presented to us. And then we keep it moving. We keep it moving, because, this is a team that we're looking to always make sure that we're keeping our pockets loaded, because we want to be at our best at all times.